Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair on the bridge of the New Horizon. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now. They were looking for new planets that humans could live on. Jake was tired, but happy with their mission. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Amy Carter sat at her station watching the communication screens. She had been doing this job for 2 years, and loved listening to the sounds of space. Most of the time it was just static and empty noise. "Captain," Amy said suddenly. Her voice was excited, but confused. "I'm getting something strange here." Jake turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" Amy pressed some buttons on her control panel. The speakers filled with a weird sound. It was not like anything they had heard before. The sound went up and down in a pattern. It almost sounded like someone crying. "It's a signal," Amy said, "but I don't know what language it is." Dr. Ben Rodriguez looked up from his science station. He was a smart man who loved solving puzzles. "Can you clean up the signal? Make it clearer?" Amy worked on her controls for a few minutes. The sound became stronger and easier to hear. Now they could tell it was definitely someone trying to talk to them. "There are numbers in it," Ben said. He walked over to Amy's station to get a better look. "See these parts? They repeat in mathematical patterns." Jake stood up and walked over to, "What does that mean?" "Mathematics is the same everywhere in the universe," Ben explained. "If someone is using math patterns in their message, they want us to understand them." This could be a distress call. The ship's computer started working on the signal. It tried to find patterns and meaning in the strange sounds. After 10 minutes, words appeared on the screen. They were not perfect, but everyone could understand the basic meaning. "Help us. We are dying. Our ship is broken. Please help us." The bridge became very quiet. Jake felt his heart beat faster. They had found other intelligent life in space, but these beings were in trouble. "Where is the signal coming from?" Jake asked. Chris Thompson looked at his navigation screens. "It's coming from the outer rim, sir. About 6 days away, if we change course now." First Officer Lisa Park shook her head. "Captain, we should be careful. This could be a trap. Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to catch ships." Tom Bradley, the chief engineer, disagreed. "We can't just ignore people who need help. That's not what humans do." Jake looked at the message on the screen again. Someone out there was scared and dying. They had sent this message, hoping that someone good would hear it and come to help them. "Ben, what do we know about that area of space?" Jake asked. Ben checked his computer files. "Not much, sir. Most ships avoid that region. The few reports we have say that ships sometimes disappear there. Other alien races call it cursed space." "Cursed?" Amy asked. "What does that mean?" "Probably just superstition," Ben said. "But it could also mean there are real dangers we don't know about." Jake walked back to his command chair. He had to make a difficult choice. They could ignore the signal and continue their mission safely, or they could help these unknown beings and risk their own lives. "How long until our next supply stop?" Jake asked. 3 weeks, sir," Chris answered. "If we change course to help, these people will be even further from any human bases." Lisa stepped closer to Jake. "Sir, we have a crew of 40 people on this ship. We have a responsibility to keep them safe. Going into unknown danger for aliens we've never met could be foolish." Tom crossed his arms. "With respect, Lisa, we also have a responsibility to help people in trouble. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us better than pirates or killers." Jake thought about both arguments. Lisa was right that he had to protect his crew, but Tom was also right about helping others. Jake remembered why he became a space captain. He wanted to explore the universe and make friends with other intelligent beings. "Amy, send a response," Jake said finally. "Tell them we received their message and we're coming to help them." Amy smiled and started typing. "What should I say exactly?" "Tell them that humans are coming. Tell them to hold on and stay strong. We'll be there as soon as we can." The message was sent out into space. Jake hoped these unknown beings would receive it and feel less afraid. Chris set course for the signal location. Maximum safe speed. "Yes, sir," Chris said. He started changing their flight path. "Tom, I want a full check of all our systems. Make sure everything is working perfectly. If we're going into danger, I want this ship ready for anything." "Already on it, Captain," Tom said. "Ben, keep working on that signal. Try to learn more about who sent it and what kind of trouble they're in." Jake sat back down in his chair. He felt nervous, but also excited. This could be the most important moment in human history. First contact with a new alien race. He wanted to make sure humans made a good first impression. "Lisa, I know you're worried," Jake said quietly. "But this is why we're out here. To explore, to learn, and to help when we can. If we don't help them, who will?" Lisa nodded slowly. "I understand, sir. I just hope we're strong enough to handle whatever we find out there." The New Horizon changed direction and headed toward the unknown. Behind them, the safe path home grew further away. Ahead of them waited aliens in trouble, and possibly great danger. But Jake Morrison and his crew were humans. When someone called for help, humans answered. That was just who they were. 6 days later, the New Horizon arrived at the location of the distress signal. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge looking at the main screen. What he saw made him feel sad and worried. A huge alien ship floated in space ahead of them. It was much bigger than the New Horizon. The ship looked like it was dying. Parts of it were dark where there should have been lights. Pieces of metal floated around it like broken bones. "My God," Amy whispered. "Look at the size of that thing." Chris checked his instruments. "Captain, that ship is over 2 miles long. It's like a floating city." Ben studied the readings from his science equipment. "I'm detecting thousands of life signs aboard that vessel, but the readings are weak, very weak." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Thousands of beings were dying on that ship. "Tom, what's wrong with their ship?" Tom looked at his engineering displays. "Their power systems are failing, sir. Their shields are almost gone. They're being hit by cosmic radiation that would kill most life forms." "Can we help them?" Jake asked. "We can try, sir. But our ship wasn't built for this kind of rescue mission. We'll need to be very creative." Jake made his decision quickly. "Chris, take us closer, but be ready to move fast if something goes wrong." As they got closer to the alien ship, more details became clear. The ship was beautiful, but fragile looking. It was made of smooth white metal that glowed softly, but now much of that glow was gone. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm receiving a transmission from the alien ship." "Put it on speakers." A voice filled the bridge. It sounded tired and scared. The computer translated the words as the alien spoke. "Human ship, thank you for coming. We are the Villani. We have been waiting to die for so long. We did not think anyone would answer our call." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship New Horizon. We're here to help you. What do you need?" "Our ship is dying, Captain Morrison. Our people are sick from the radiation. We tried to escape our homeworld, but our ship was not built for this kind of journey. We are not strong like other races." "Why did you leave your home?" Jake asked. There was a pause. Then the voice came back, full of pain. "The Kreks came to our world. They are warriors who destroy everything they touch. We had to run, or they would have killed us all. But now we are dying anyway, just more slowly." Dr. Susan Wells stepped onto the bridge. She was the ship's doctor and had been listening to the conversation. "Captain, I need to get over there and see these people. If they're sick, maybe I can help them." Jake nodded. "Tom, can we dock with their ship safely?" Tom studied his readings. "It's risky, sir. Their docking systems are different from ours, but I think I can make it work. Do it. Susan, take whatever medical supplies you think you'll need. I'm coming. With you, sir, Lisa said. Is that wise? We don't know anything about these aliens. They could be dangerous. The alien voice came through the speakers again. Please, we mean you no harm. We are not fighters. We have never hurt anyone. We only want to live. Jake looked at Lisa. Does that sound dangerous to you? 20 minutes later, Jake and Dr. Wells walked through the airlock onto the alien ship. Tom came with them to look at the ship's systems. What they saw inside shocked them. The aliens called Villani were very different from humans. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin. Their arms and legs looked fragile, like they might break easily. Their eyes were large and filled with fear. Hundreds of Villani lay on beds throughout the ship. Many of them were clearly dying. Their skin had dark spots from radiation sickness. They moved slowly and breathed with difficulty. A Villani approached them. He wore clothes that showed he was important, probably their leader. He was sick too, but trying to stay strong for his people. I am Elder Zan, he said through a translation device. Thank you for coming, humans. But I fear you have come too late. We are too sick, and our ship is too broken. Dr. Wells knelt beside one of the sick Villani. She ran her medical scanner over the alien. This is radiation poisoning, but it's not. Too late. I can treat this. She looked up at Jake. Captain, I need to get my full medical team over here right away. These people can be saved, but we need to work fast. Tom was looking at the alien ship's control panels. Captain, their technology is amazing, but it's too delicate. It's like they built everything, assuming nothing bad would ever happen. Elder Zan heard him. You are right, human. We Villani have lived on our peaceful world for thousands of years. We never learned to build things that could survive hardship. We never learned to fight or to be strong like other races. Jake said. Tell me about them. Zan's large eyes filled with sadness. They are everything we are not. Strong, violent, cruel. They believe that weak races like us should not exist. They came to our world and said we must serve them or die. We chose to run. How many of your people escaped? Dr. Wells asked as she started treating a sick Villani child. 50,000, Zan said. All that remains of our race. The Kreks killed the rest, or made them slaves. Jake felt anger growing inside him. And no one else in the galaxy helped you? Zan shook his head. Other races fear the Kreks too much. They also think we Villani are too weak to be worth saving. They say we should have learned to fight instead of learning to create beautiful things. Tom stood up from the control panel he was examining. Well, they're wrong, Captain. I think I can fix some of their systems. It won't be easy, but these people don't deserve to die. Dr. Wells was already working to save the sick Villani. I'm going to need every doctor and nurse on our ship, and all our medical supplies. Jake nodded. You'll have whatever you need. Elder Zan stared at the humans with wonder. Why are you helping us? What do you gain from saving a race of weaklings? Jake looked at the dying Villani around them. We don't gain anything. We help because it's the right thing to do. That's what humans do, even if it puts you in danger. Especially then, Jake said. As if his words had been a signal, Amy's voice came through Jake's communicator. Captain, you need to get back to the ship immediately. I'm detecting multiple ships approaching, big ones. Jake felt ice in his stomach. Kreks? I think so, sir. And they'll be here in less than 2 days. Elder Zan collapsed into a chair. They found us. They followed our trail across the galaxy. We cannot run anymore. Our ship will not last another day. Jake put his hand on the alien's shoulder. Then we'll have to make our stand here. But Captain, Zan said, you do not understand. The Kreks have 12 warships coming. You have only 1 ship. They will destroy you. Jake smiled grimly. Maybe, but we're humans. We don't run away from bullies. and we don't abandon people who need help. Tom packed up his tools. I'll get our engineering team over here to start fixing their ship. Dr. Wells continued working on her patient. And I'll get our medical team here to save as many as possible. Jake looked around at all the sick and frightened Villani. We're going to save you, all of you, I promise. As they returned to the New Horizon, Jake knew they were probably going to die. 12 enemy warships against 1 exploration vessel. But he also knew that running away was not an option. These gentle beings needed help, and humans had answered their call. Now they would see if human determination was stronger than Krek's weapons. 2 days passed quickly. The human crew worked without stopping to help the Villani. Dr. Wells and her medical team had moved to the alien ship and were treating hundreds of sick Villani. Tom and his engineers were fixing the broken ship systems as fast as they could. Jake stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars. He knew the Krek ships would arrive soon. His crew was tired but determined. They had all volunteered to stay and fight, even though they knew they would probably die. Captain, Chris said from his navigation station, I'm detecting ships coming out of hyperspace. Jake's heart started beating faster. How many? 12? Sir? Just like the Villani said. The main screen showed 12 dark ships appearing in space. They were ugly and covered with weapons. Each one was bigger than the New Horizon. Together, they looked like a pack of hungry wolves. Red alert, Jake ordered. All hands to battle stations. Amy tried to contact the Krek ships. This is the human vessel New Horizon. Please respond. A harsh voice filled the bridge. The computer translated the alien words, but the anger and cruelty came through clearly. Humans. We are Commander Vex of the Krek's Empire. You will surrender the Villani criminals to us immediately. If you comply, we will destroy your ship quickly. If you resist, we will make your death slow and painful. Jake stepped forward. This is Captain Jake Morrison. The Villani are under our protection. They have done nothing wrong. We will not surrender them to you. Laughter came through the speakers. It was a cold, evil sound. You protect them, one small ship against the might of the Krek's fleet. Are humans stupid or simply insane? Neither, Jake said calmly. We just don't abandon innocent people to murderers. Innocent, Commander Vex snarled. The Villani are weak. They create nothing useful. They cannot fight. They cannot serve. Such races should not exist in our galaxy. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. The Villani create beautiful art and music. They are peaceful and kind. The galaxy is better with them in it. Art and music. Vex laughed again. Useless things. Only strength matters. Only the ability to take what you want and destroy your enemies. Then you and I have very different ideas about what makes life worth living, Jake said. Enough talk, Vex growled. Surrender the Villani now, or we will take them from your burning wreckage. Jake looked around his bridge. Lisa stood ready at her station. Amy had her hands on the communication controls. Chris was prepared to move the ship. Tom was monitoring all systems from engineering. They were all afraid, but none of them looked like they wanted to give up. Our answer is no, Jake said. We will not surrender innocent people to you. Then you have chosen death, humans. The communication ended. A moment later, the Krek's ships opened fire. The first energy blasts hit the New Horizon's shields. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered on the bridge. Shield strength down to 80%. Tom reported over the communicator. Ryan, Jake called to his weapons officer. Return fire. Ryan Clark had been waiting for this moment. He was young but very good with weapons. Firing all weapons, sir. The New Horizon's lasers and missiles shot toward the Krek's ships. Most of the attacks bounced off their thick armor, but a few found weak spots. One Krek's ship took damage to its weapon systems. Good shot, Ryan, Jake said. Keep it up. But 12 ships against 1 was impossible odds. The The Kreks surrounded the New Horizon and attacked from all sides. The human ship was faster and more nimble, but it could not fight so many enemies at once. Shield strength down to 50%, Tom reported. His voice was tense, but steady. Chris flew the ship like an artist, dodging between enemy fire and using the Volani ship as cover, but there were too many Krek ships to avoid them all. "Captain," Lisa said, "we can't win this fight. Maybe we should try to run." Jake shook his head. "And leave the Volani." "No, we stay and fight." Ryan had been studying the enemy ships while fighting them. "Captain, I have an idea. These Krek ships are tough, but they're not very smart. If we can trick them into hitting each other." "Do it," Jake said. Ryan flew their ship between two Krek vessels, just as they fired. The enemy shots missed the New Horizon and hit each other. Instead, both Krek ships took heavy damage. "Excellent work," Jake said. "Can you do that again?" "I'll try, sir." The battle continued for an hour. The New Horizon managed to destroy two Krek ships and damage several others. But the human ship was taking terrible damage too. "Shield strength down to 20%, Tom reported. "We've lost weapons on the starboard side. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Jake could hear explosions throughout the ship. Some of his crew were hurt or dead, but they kept fighting. On the Volani ship, Elder Zan watched the battle through his ship's sensors. He had never seen anything like it. The humans were outnumbered 6-1, but they refused to give up. They kept fighting to protect people they had just met. "Why do they do this?" Zan asked Dr. Wells, who was still treating sick V. Lonnie. Dr. Wells looked up from her patient. "Because we're human. We don't abandon people who need help, even if it costs us everything. But you will all die for us." "Why is our survival worth your lives?" "Because all life is precious," Dr. Wells said simply. "And because someone has to stand up to bullies like the Kreks." Back on the New Horizon, things were getting desperate. The ship had lost most of its weapons. The shields were almost gone. Fire and smoke filled several decks. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm receiving a surrender demand from the Kreks." "Ignore it," Jake said. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "maybe we should consider it. We've done everything we could. No one could ask for more." Jake looked at her with tired but determined eyes. "Lisa, do you think the Kreks will let us live if we surrender?" "Probably not," she admitted. "And do you think they'll be gentle with the Volani?" Lisa was quiet for a moment. "No, sir." "Then we keep fighting until we can't fight anymore." Ryan destroyed another Krek ship with a lucky shot to their engine core, but there were still 9 enemy ships left, and the New Horizon was almost finished. "Captain," Amy said suddenly, "I have an idea. We could send out a general distress call on all human frequencies. Even if help is too far away to save us, other humans should know what happened here." Jake nodded. "Do it. Tell them that humans don't abandon innocent people. Tell them that we fought to the end for what was right." Amy sent the message out into space. It would take days to reach the nearest human colonies, but maybe someday other humans would hear it and understand what had happened here. Commander Vex's voice came through the speakers again. "Humans, you have fought well for such a small species, but this ends now. Surrender, and we will make your deaths quick." Jake smiled grimly. "Commander Vex, you made one big mistake." "What mistake, human?" "You assumed we were alone." As if summoned by his words, new ships began appearing on the edge of the star system. Human ships. Dozens of them. Jake's smile grew wider. "You're about to learn something important about humans, Vex. When one of us calls for help, we all come running." The human fleet came out of hyperspace like an avenging storm. Jake counted the ships on his screen and could hardly believe what he saw. There were 43 vessels of all sizes and types. Leading them was the USS Defiance, a military cruiser commanded by Admiral Kate Murphy. Behind her came cargo ships, mining vessels, passenger transports, and even some private yachts. They were all armed and ready to fight. New Horizon, this is Admiral Murphy, came a strong voice over the communicator. Sorry, we're late to the party, Jake. What's the situation? Jake felt tears in his eyes. Admiral, we have 12 Krex warships attacking us, and 50,000 Volani refugees, who need protection. We're heavily damaged but still fighting. Copy that. All ships, this is Admiral Murphy. We have civilians to protect and enemies to destroy. Attack pattern Delta. Show these Krex what happens when they mess with humans. The human fleet spread out and attacked the Krex from all directions. The Krex had been focused on destroying the New Horizon and were caught completely off guard. Captain Steve Richards commanded a group of mining ships called the Asteroid Angels. His ships were not built for war, but the miners had attached heavy drilling equipment to the front of their vessels. This is for shooting at civilians, Steve said, as his ship rammed into a Krex warship. The mining drill punched through the enemy's armor like it was paper. The Krex tried to fight back, but they were confused and scared. They had never faced an enemy like this. The human ships worked together perfectly, covering each other and attacking as one unit. Transport Captain Maria Santos flew her passenger ship, the Peaceful Voyager, through the battle zone. Her ship was not armed, but she was rescuing wounded humans from the damaged New Horizon. Don't worry about us, she radioed to Admiral Murphy. We'll get the wounded to safety. You just focus on those Krex. Commander Vex watched his fleet falling apart around him. 3 more of his ships had been destroyed. The others were taking heavy damage from enemies they couldn't understand. How is this possible? He demanded of his officers. These humans fight like they have no fear of death. Sir, one of his officers replied, they're not even military ships. That vessel that just destroyed our cruiser is a mining ship, and that one rescuing their wounded is just a passenger transport. Vex could not understand it. In Krex society, only trained warriors fought in battles. Civilians stayed safe, while soldiers did the fighting. But these humans were different. Everyone had come to fight for strangers they had never met. Dr. Wells was still on the Volani ship when the human fleet arrived. She watched the battle through the ship's windows with Elder Zahn and his people. I don't understand, Zahn said. These other humans don't even know us. Why did they come to fight for us? Because Jake called for help, Dr. Wells explained. When humans hear that someone needs help, we come. It doesn't matter if we know them or not, but they could all die fighting for us. Yes, they could, but they came anyway. That's what makes us human. The battle was turning in favor of the humans. Their ships were smaller and weaker than the Krex warships, but they fought smarter and worked together better. More importantly, they were fighting for something they believed in. Ryan Clark on the New Horizon had figured out how to target the Krex ship's weak points. He shared this information with the entire human fleet. Soon, every human ship was hitting the enemy where it hurt most. Target their engine connections, Ryan radioed to the fleet. Hit them there and their ships lose power. A cargo ship called the Happy Merchant followed Ryan's advice. Their single laser hit exactly the right spot, and a Krex warship went dark and dead in space. Admiral Murphy's ship, the Defiance, was fighting 3 Krex ships at once. Her vessel was tough and well armed, but she was still outnumbered. This is fun, she said calmly, as enemy fire shook her ship. I haven't had a good fight in years. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Dan Foster, was having the time of his life. Admiral, their tactics are terrible. They just charge forward and shoot. No imagination at all. Then let's teach them some imagination, Dan. The Defiance suddenly stopped moving and spun around to face its attackers. All of its weapons fired at once, catching the Krex ships by surprise. 2 of them exploded immediately. Steve Richards and his mining ships had formed a fighting group with some cargo vessels. They called themselves the Rough Riders and were having great success against the Kreks. Remember, boys, Steve radioed to his group, we're not soldiers, but we know how to work hard and take care of each other. That's all we need. His ship, the Iron Mule, destroyed another Kreks vessel with its improvised weapons. The miners cheered and looked for their next target. Commander Vex was getting desperate. Half his fleet was destroyed or badly damaged. These humans fought like demons, and they seemed to get stronger as the battle went on. All ships, he ordered, concentrate fire on the refugee vessel. If we destroy the Vellani, the humans will have no reason to keep fighting. But the humans had anticipated this move. The moment the Krek ships turned toward the Vellani vessel, the entire human fleet moved to block them. Not happening, Admiral Murphy said firmly. All ships, protect the Vellani. No one gets through. The New Horizon, even with all its damage, moved directly between the Kreks and the refugees. Jake was ready to sacrifice his ship to protect the innocent beings they had come to save. This is our line, Jake announced to the Kreks fleet. You do not cross it. But the Kreks never got the chance to try. The human fleet hit them with everything they had. Ships that had never been designed for war fought with courage and determination that amazed even their own crews. A small yacht called the Weekend Warrior, owned by a retired couple, somehow managed to disable a Kreks cruiser with a lucky shot to their computer systems. Well, said the yacht's owner, that was exciting. Should we do it again? The battle lasted 3 more hours. When it ended, only 2 Kreks ships remained functional, and they were trying to escape. Commander Vex's flagship was a burning wreck, and Vex himself was dead. Admiral Murphy watched the surviving Krek ships flee, and decided to let them go. Let them run, she said. Let them tell the galaxy what happens when someone threatens innocent people while humans are around. Jake sat in his damaged command chair and looked around his bridge. Lisa had a bandage on her head. Amy's station was smoking. Chris had burns on his arms. But they were all alive, and they were all smiling. Captain, Tom's voice came from engineering. The ship is badly damaged, but we'll make it home. Good, Jake said. But first, let's make sure our new friends are okay. Dr. Wells contacted the New Horizon from the Vellani ship. Captain, I have wonderful news. The Vellani are going to survive. Their ship is repaired enough to travel safely, and most of the radiation sickness has been treated. Elder Zan's voice came through the communicator. Captain Morrison, how can we ever thank you? You and your people risked everything for strangers. Jake smiled. You don't need to thank us, Elder Zan. Just live good lives, and remember that there are people in this galaxy who care about doing the right thing. Admiral Murphy's ship came alongside the New Horizon. Jake, you and your crew did something incredible here. The whole galaxy is going to hear about this. I hope so, Jake said. Maybe other people will learn that sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what's right, even when the odds are against you. As the human fleet prepared to escort the Vellani to safety, word of the battle was already spreading across the galaxy. Scout ships from dozens of alien races had watched the fight from a safe distance. They had seen something they never expected. A species that would risk everything to protect strangers. A people who valued moral courage more than personal safety. The galaxy was about to meet humanity, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 weeks after the battle, the New Horizon arrived at the human colony world of New Terra. The Vellani ship followed close behind, escorted by Admiral Murphy's fleet. Word of what had happened had already reached the colony, and thousands of people waited to welcome the refugees. Elder Zan stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at the green and blue world below. He had never seen anything so beautiful. After months of dying in the cold darkness of space, they were finally safe. It's wonderful, he said to Dr. Wells, who had stayed with the Vellani during their journey. But are you sure your people will accept us? Dr. Wells smiled. Elder Zan, Humans have been taking in refugees for thousands of years. It's one of the things we do best. On the planet's surface, Governor Linda Hayes was preparing to meet the first alien refugees in human history. She was nervous but excited. This was the beginning of something new and important. Jake Morrison had spent the journey writing his report about what had happened, but words seemed too small to describe what he had witnessed. How do you explain the courage of miners flying into battle against warships? How do you capture the moment when an entire species chose to risk everything for strangers? The Villani were settled in a beautiful valley on New Terra. Humans worked day and night to build homes for them and help them start their new lives. The aliens were amazed by human kindness and generosity, but the real changes were happening far away, in the depths of space where other alien civilizations watched and wondered about these strange new beings called humans. The Zephyrian Empire had been observing the battle through long-range sensors. The Zephyrians were an old and powerful race that had ruled part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They had never seen anything like the human response to the Villani crisis. "It makes no sense," said High Chancellor Corvex to his council. "The humans gained nothing by fighting the Kreks. They risked their lives for beings they had never met. What kind of strategy is this?" "Perhaps it is not strategy at all," suggested Councillor Zaris. "Perhaps they simply believed it was the right thing to do." "Impossible," Corvex replied. "No species survives in this galaxy by doing the right thing. You survive by being strong and taking what you need." But other voices on the council disagreed. They had seen the recordings of the battle. They had watched humans sacrifice themselves for strangers. It was something they had never witnessed before. The Altarian Federation was having similar discussions. The Altarians were traders and diplomats who had built their civilization on careful deals and smart negotiations. They never took risks unless the profit was guaranteed. "These humans are either very stupid or very dangerous," said Trade Minister Valen. "Anyone who fights hopeless battles for moral principles cannot be trusted to make reasonable deals." "Or," said Ambassador Terex, "they might be exactly the kind of people we want as friends." When was the last time any of us risked anything to help someone else? The question hung in the air like a challenge. The Altarians prided themselves on being civilized and sophisticated, but watching the humans fight for the Villani made them wonder if they had forgotten something important about what civilization really meant. Meanwhile, on New Terra, something wonderful was happening. The Villani were sharing their knowledge and culture with the humans. They taught art and music and philosophy. In return, humans taught them about technology and survival and determination. Dr. Wells had established a cultural exchange program. Villani scientists worked with human researchers to develop new medical treatments. Villani artists created beautiful works that celebrated both their old home and their new one. Tom Bradley was working with Villani engineers to combine human toughness with Villani elegance. Together, they were designing ships that were both beautiful and strong. Ships that could survive in harsh space, but still inspire wonder in those who saw them. Elder Zan had become friends with Governor Hayes. They spent hours talking about the differences between their peoples and the things they had in common. "We Villani always believed that beauty and peace were the highest goals," Zen told her one evening as they watched the sunset over the colony. "But you humans have taught us that sometimes you must fight to protect beauty and peace. And you've taught us that winning battles is not enough," Hayes replied. "We need to know what we're fighting for. We need to create something worth protecting." 6 months after the rescue, alien ships began appearing at the edge of human space. They came not as conquerors or traders, but as curious observers. They wanted to meet the species that had changed the rules of galactic civilization. The first official contact came from the Altarian Federation. Ambassador Terex arrived on New Terra with a small fleet and a proposal for trade agreements. But he was more interested in understanding humans than in making deals. "We have watched your species for months now," Terex told Ambassador Rachel. Green, the human diplomat, assigned to handle first contact. We do not understand you. You seem to make decisions based on principles rather than profit. Rachel smiled. Is that so strange? In our experience, yes. Most civilizations in the galaxy learned long ago that principles are luxuries that few can afford. Maybe that's the problem with the galaxy, Rachel said. Maybe everyone has been so focused on what they can afford that they forgot what they can't afford to lose. Terex was quiet for a long moment. And what is that? Their souls, Rachel said simply. More alien delegations arrived over the following months. The Zephyrians sent scholars to study human psychology. The Corvani Collective sent military observers to analyze human tactics. The peaceful Mindorians sent philosophers to discuss ethics and morality. Each group left with the same impression. Humans were something new and unexpected in the galaxy. They were strong enough to fight the Krex Empire, but gentle enough to care for refugees. They were advanced enough to build starships, but simple enough to risk their lives for strangers. The real test came when the hegemony arrived. The hegemony was a collection of powerful races that had dominated galactic politics for centuries. They had come to evaluate whether humans were a threat to the existing order. Supreme Marshal Karen led the hegemony delegation. He was a warrior from the Draconian race, and he had never met a species he couldn't intimidate or defeat. We have heard interesting stories about your people, Karan told Ambassador Green during their first meeting. You apparently believe you can change how the galaxy works. We don't want to change the galaxy, Rachel replied. We just want to be ourselves, and we want to help others be the best versions of themselves too. Karan laughed. Noble words, but the galaxy is not a place for nobility. It is a place where the strong take from the weak and the smart take from the foolish. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way, Rachel said. You think a few acts of heroism can change thousands of years of galactic civilization? Rachel looked out the window at the Vellani children playing with human children in the colony's park. Marshu Korahan 6 months ago, those children were dying in space, abandoned by a galaxy that didn't care about them. Today, they're learning and growing and creating beautiful things alongside human children. If that's not change, I don't know what is. Corin followed her gaze and watched the children playing together. For a moment, something soft appeared in his eyes. Then he shook his head and hardened his expression again. Children playing together is not galactic policy, he said. No, Rachel agreed, but it's something better. It's hope. The hegemony delegation left without making any threats or demands. But their report to the Galactic Council was clear. Humans were not going to be controlled or intimidated. They were going to continue doing what they thought was right, regardless of what anyone else thought. A year after the rescue of the Vellani, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the rebuilt New Horizon. His ship was stronger now, equipped with technology that combined human engineering with Vellani innovation. More importantly, it carried a crew that included both humans and Vellani. Amy Carter was still his communications officer, but now she worked alongside a Vellani named Saren, who was teaching her the subtle art of diplomatic communication. Tom Bradley had a Vellani partner named Kylan, who helped him design more elegant solutions to engineering problems. Dr. Wells had been promoted to head of the new Interspecies Medical Corps, working to share human and Vellani healing techniques with other races across the galaxy. The New Horizon was heading out on a new mission, to explore the Outer Rim and make contact with other species that might need help or friendship. They were not going as conquerors or traders, but as helpers and friends. Captain, Amy reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Altarian Federation. They're asking for our help with a refugee crisis in the Beta Quadrant. Jake smiled. Set course for the Beta Quadrant. Maximum speed. Sir, asked Lisa Park, who was still his first officer. Do we know anything about this crisis? Nope, Jake said cheerfully. But we know someone needs help, and that's enough. As the New Horizon jumped to hyperspace, Jake thought about how much had changed since they first heard that distress signal from the Villani. The galaxy was still a dangerous place. There were still species like the Kreks, who believed that might made right. There were still wars and suffering and injustice. But there was also something new. There was hope. Species that had been afraid to help each other were beginning to reach out. Young people from across the galaxy were volunteering to serve on ships like the New Horizon, dedicated to helping those in need. The Villani had coined a phrase for it in their beautiful language, Kathara Nim. It meant the courage to care. It was spreading across the galaxy like a new kind of virus, infecting species after species with the dangerous idea that maybe, just maybe, there was a better way to live among the stars. Jake Morrison looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace and smiled. They had answered one distress call in the void, and it had changed everything. He wondered what would happen when they answered the next one. Behind them, the galaxy continued to turn, but now, it turned toward hope.